Most of us will be familiar with the FX series and the quality they represent, I assume, but one of the problems they've always had is they can be a bit bulky, a bit large, and don't always fit people's cabinets. So, when Fluval, Will Hagen actually, but when they reached out to me and asked, would I like to try out the new FX2, which is the new compact version and should fit more people's cabinets, I was, delighted to give it a shot. So packing an impressive 1800 litres per hour or 475 US gallons per hour, this new compact filter for tanks up to 750 litres should be more suitable for people with tanks about that size. I never really noticed before, the Fluval packaging always looks impressive with the nice classic blues and the silvers and whites, but there is an impressive amount of information on the packaging alone. Let's not kid ourselves on though, what we really want is to get up inside this thing, isn't it? So, we'll cut open the factory seal. That's how you know it hasn't been tampered with and it's a genuine new product that you've got. As we open it up, there's even more information exposed, which I kind of like. I kind of like the way there's no real estate wasted. Let's get the toys though. That's what we want, isn't it? So, box in the top with all the kind of accessories that come with it. Well, not accessories, are kind of important that we got all the parts, isn't it? But so your box of parts, and then as we reach inside, we've also got the filter, nice and simple. Hose wrapped around it, keeping it in nice shape, and a bag with looks like the spillway there. So not too much to have to think about, but we'll go through setting it up and putting it together, shall we? This is something that's always appealed to me about these filters, is the kind of bolt clasps that you get all the way around them. It feels like they're going to hold the lid on a lot more securely than just a couple of plastic flaps that you do get with other filters, eh? You get the impression it's going to make for a much tighter seal and hopefully eliminate any leaks that you sometimes get with canister filters. I must admit, I appreciate these wee handles that you get on the side of the media trays. It means you don't have to reach down into the filter gravy to pull on handles and lift your media baskets out. Pretty cool. We've got those sponges around each of the two trays, which is going to be like your first stage if you like. Then we've got like a kind of medium pad in there in the first tray. Underneath they've provided plenty of biomedia, which is going to sit in there. That's really cool. Second tray then, we've got some more media which they've provided. Because I've already got a filter set up, I'm probably going to exchange that for my established media. But then we lift that off and we've, what is this? Media bags, cool, to pour the media into. I like that they've included them, and plastic clips as well, no metal zips. And then we've got a carbon pad. Not totally keen on this part, I must admit. The carbon tends to only last for about a month or so before it runs ineffective, and you either need to replace them every now and then or do without them. It's not that I mind replacing them, it's that maybe I don't want to go into the filter quite as often as I would need to in order to swap them out. So we might change that up. When we put the trays back together, we just got to make sure we've got that groove in the right place so our handle can fit nicely into it. And once we do, it clips into the bottom like that and then slots into place. Brilliant. Let's get a quick look at the pump section then, which we can do easily by removing these three screws. Self-priming pump section, by the way, complete with smart pump technology. Their patented microchip technology, which continually monitors and optimizes pump performance. And look at that for an impeller, by the way. I've seen a lot of impellers, man. Very few as large as that. And I can't remember any that are curved. Is that the right word? Angled like that. Which is where you can see where some of the power is going to come from. And the optimization. Rubber ends on the shaft as well, which means They're not going to wear down particularly often and kind of keep running smoothly. Look at the strength of that magnet there, man. Yeah, I'm very encouraged by this, I have to say. The hosing cradles look to be very nicely designed. They've got this flexible flap which will help to hold it against the glass. Thicker glass anyway, but it's going to be thicker glass for tanks this size. And then you've got this kind of rubber band on the inside of that part to make sure you don't scratch the inside of your glass. It's very easy to attach the hose to the cradle though. What I did was put the top section on first, and then the way this pipe is designed, it bends very, very easily while still keeping its shape. So bend it over at one end of the cradle and put the clip into place with a satisfying click. Then the other side, and you've got your shape. Nice and simple. It doesn't take a lot of force to do that. You don't have to be particularly strong or dexterous. And also, if you decide you need to reposition it, you just kind of clip it off with the edge of your thumb and they come away very easily. It slips over the edge of the tank smoothly, and it's quite easy to remove it too, which is no accident. You've got to give them credit for this. They have put a lot of time into designing these. Let's have a look at the hose connectors then. And I've just realised the red parts, aside for being quite stylish, identify which parts you can interact with, right? So as you twist that kind of section there, you see how it will either totally block off the flow. So if you need to remove the pipes from your canister filter, you turn it all the way over, or part of the way, which will reduce flow. I noticed another sneaky rubber band down there just to ensure a nice tight seal, which is brilliant. And yeah, if you need to reduce the flow because it's a little bit too much for your fish weir, you can do that. This wee section now, if you notice, if I press it, it releases the kind of internal seal there, if you notice, and that's how you can slip it onto the canister filter. Press down, squidge it on, and there you've got it in place. Same again when you want to release it, just press the road section in, pull it off, and away you go. And there are two rubber rings there. Sometimes that is a problem with filters. This is sometimes where they can leak from, but double sealing there. That's got to give some peace of mind, hasn't it? There is a huge intake strainer, which is... Hold on a minute. That's a great sound, isn't it? Which is on a retractable arm, which is fantastic because sometimes you have to cut these to size, which means if you move it onto another tank or change your tank, you're kind of stuck. But yeah, retractable is perfect. And then your return part is... I think these ridges are just for strength. They're kind of duckbill returns, which are fully adjustable, which means you can place them in any angle. They're just going to slip onto the pipe like that. Well, they're kind of cool, aren't they? I like the way you can split the flow, so you can have it either going in the same direction or create a bit of a variation in the current. Kind of firm as well. When you move them about, they don't kind of wobble. They're going to stay in the position you set them. The pipe comes in one piece, so you can cut it to your desire or to your tank specifications. I am going to chop it straight in the middle because my filter is going to sit in the middle section of the cabinet underneath. Might be a touch too long, but I don't want to shorten it any more than that because you never know when you're going to change things up, and I might be glad that I left it the way that I did. As I start to move the equipment towards the tank, I suddenly realise I've got a problem now. Not Fluval's fault, not Jules' fault, this is a dual tank, but I never ever considered that I might have an FX filter and I've not left enough space between the wall and the tank, have I? Look. The cradle doesn't fit, let alone the cradle and the hosing. So I'm going to have to drain this whole tank and move the tank away from the wall. Also, I've noticed with these pipes, they're sitting a bit proud of where the lip of the tank is, where the lid fits. You've got the top edge of the finish of the tank, and then the lower edge is where the lid fits into place. And this is definitely going to sit proud, and that is without the cradle underneath it. So that is a problem. That is an issue. So maybe the FX filters are not ideal for dual tanks, or the dual tanks are not ideal for FX filters. Well, we'll think about that later, right? So I've removed the internal dual filter, and this is where the intake pipe is going to go. So I'm going to scrape away any algae or biofilm so the suction cups hold fast. You'll notice the 3D background only ran up to the dual filter, so that might actually be another issue. Right, let's have a wee look at this. Hold on. What I am worried about is whether the return section or the intake pipe are going to reach beyond the 3D background, which they might not. I'm not so concerned about the return, but certainly the intake pipe. But I'm not going to be able to judge that until I drain the tank, move it forward and get everything in place. It looks like it might be an issue, but again, not Fluval's fault, not Drew's fault, just incompatible pieces maybe. I might have to remove that background. Regardless, let's crack on anyway. Right, so the blue section you see behind was the original paint job I had on the tank, and I kind of like that, so it wouldn't be a total loss if I've got to remove the dual background. We'll see how that goes. But pressing on, we're going to position our intake exactly where we want it, and you can see the genius of the retractable, adjustable reach now. Do really think that's a good idea, and we'll stick that there for now, shall we? With that in place, I'm going to run the pipe down the back of the tank towards the filter now, and you can see, or where the filter's going to sit, sorry, and you can see that you really do need their clever cradle hose feature. Otherwise, kind of pushes away from the back of the glass, doesn't it, and moves the intake out of position. For the return now, until I can move the tank forward leastways, what I've tried to do is just attach it to the hose and bring it up out of the back of the tank, and then attach it with a heater clip. However, long story short, the heater clip was just not wide enough to hold it in place or hold it firm, and it pinged out of there a couple of times, so bit worried it'll end up coming loose and shooting water in all sorts of directions, so that is not an option. So for now, at least, I am using the cradles, and I've moved them to the side of the tank. I've moved them to the side of the tank. It's not pretty, but I'll work on it. I've had to secure the pipes to the side of the tank with tape because there are human fry around here that will certainly tug on them, and I don't want them to do that either. And yeah, I'm going to move the tank forward. I'm going to drain it, move it forward, but it still doesn't eliminate the problem with the lid, and I don't know what to do. The only thing I can think of at this stage is maybe invest in another light and go open top, maybe. If you guys have got any ideas or any solutions to this, which do not involve me cutting into the lid, because I don't want to do that either, then please let us know, man, because bit of an issue. Well, it's a huge issue, isn't it? Again, not Fluval's fault or Jules' fault. I should have just done my due diligence and made sure that the cutouts were going to fit the pipes that you get with it. Anyway, I'm turning a showcase into a bit of a vlog here, aren't I? So let's press on, right? Next thing I'm going to do is connect the pipes to the canister, and for that you need to add these Jubilee clips, which do come with the kit, and I totally appreciate the way you get everything you need with this filter to set it up. You're just going to slot it over the end of your hose in, add your pipe connectors, and then tighten the Jubilee clip around it. I would say just kind of tighten it finger tight, man. If you try and do it with all your strength, you might split the plastic, and you don't want to do that. Finger tight should create a nice seal. With the pipe work in place, we're going to finish off getting our canister together. Like I said, I'm not going to use this carbon pad. I will keep it nearby because it is handy for the likes of removing medication from your system if you've used it, stuff like that. But for now, I'm going to use it as a template to cut just a wee piece of sponge to put in the bottom of that section. If you're not too confident of what you're doing, I would say always go with the manufacturer's guidelines. But if you've got a wee bit of experience, you might want to experiment a wee bit. In which case, you could maybe add floss in the bottom there. I'll leave it to you, but I'm certainly going to use this, well, medium. In fact, no, I'm not. I've got a finer sponge there, so that'll do. That's what I'm going to use for now. And then we're going to put the whole thing back together. It's clearly labelled on the lid, which is the in and which is the out. You can't really get it wrong anyway. And then I would prefer to add the clips and then tighten them up bit by bit and work my way around. I feel like that will give a more even seal. And again, it's just kind of a firm finger tight that I'm going for. Once that's all secured, we're ready to get into position and attach the pipes to the filter. Like I said, it is self-priming, and they say fill the filter first, but I've got a wee sneaky way of a genius way of starting a filter and priming it, so I'll link that in a card at the end of the video and in the description down below. It is really good, by the way. It works every time. With that done though and everything ready to go, wee idea for you, Fluval. I've got a lot of plugs under this fish tank, man. There's a lot of lights, heaters, filters, whatever. I tend to label them so that when I'm doing my maintenance, I know what I'm unplugging and plugging back in again. But I'm just kind of wondering, is there any chance we could brand the plug sockets? If we could have Fluval printed on the plug so it was clear what we were unplugging and plugging back in again, it might make life a little easier. It's a small thing, but a thing no less for fish keepers, and just like I say, an idea for you. Anyway, we're going to plug it in and off we go. We'll see what will happen here, right? While I'm thinking about this, there's one thing. Right, see all that air that comes out there? Sometimes your filter does build up air and gases in the top of it, right? And this is one of the clever things about the FX series. It purges that every now and then. I think it's every 12 hours the filter will shut off, allow the gases to move to the top of the filter, and there's a clever wee gizmo, I'm going to say, in the lid, which allows the gas to escape. Really, really smart. And I will say, I think it does that a couple of minutes after you turn it on. I actually thought I broke the filter. Plugged it in, ran it, everything was going cool. Filter shut off. I thought I'd killed it. However, I left it and it came back on a minute later, and I think that was the same thing. It was just purging all the air out, which means you don't need to burp your canister filter. If that doesn't scream attention to detail to you, I do not know what will. Since we're looking at the return section anyway, just look at the flow you're getting out of this thing. It's really good, isn't it? If the flow returning to your tank is coming out that well, then obviously logic dictates that the intake is sucking up a whole lot of water and debris with it. And it does too. It's not the type of filter that you're looking at the intake wondering if it's going to suck up that bit of fish food or plant matter. It's such a great size and the power is so good that it's going to suck everything that passes nearby. And it's very unlikely that it's going to get clogged up with stuff floating about in your water. However, should that happen and something find its way inside, you can release the clips on each side of it, open it up in half and remove the obstruction. That is also the point where you can remove and replace the suction cups if they need a bit of attention. The suction cups with those easy release tabs, by the way. Look at that thing. Looks like a 50s microphone, doesn't it? It's worth pointing out there are rubber pads 2 rubber pads on each of the 3 feet of the filter, which really do help to reduce vibration. In fact, there's no vibration. You can hear the filter a little bit, not in this clip. The sound you're hearing is coming from the air pump, but there is a very slight operating hum. Kind of think that's fair enough, to be honest, with a filter that is giving you this much power. But saying that, close the door on it and that pretty much evaporates. So I've been running this filter for a couple of days now, and I must say it is at the highest end of the filter spectrum. Does a fantastic job. That is to be expected from the FX series, I suppose, but the fact that they've made a model that fits under anybody's tank in their cabinets or their stands, well, maybe this is a filter we've been waiting for. It is a high-end model with a price point to match, but I think that's fair enough when it's packed with features that I've explained through this video. I think it's value for money, I really do. I'm going to need to see how it works over time, and I will come back and do like a maintenance video and a video after I've been using it for a couple of months or so. But I will need to say thank you to Fluval Fx2 for allowing me the opportunity to try it out. Delighted to have got that chance. I've still got some work to do. Like I say, I'm going to need to empty the tank and move it forward a wee bit so the pipework fits. And I'm going to need to solve the issue with the pipes being a bit taller than the cutout in the back of the jewel. But, you know, part of the fun for me is in the tinkering and in the making things work. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm kind of scratching around trying to find something negative to say about this filter, but it's just not there, is it? Even the design of it. When I open up the door and that FX logo is staring up at me, and a cool looking filter, well, puts a big smile right on my face.